How many people earned 61.33% return in 1 year? In this episode, I'm going to address how to make good rates of return with no downside risk. Get ready, this is going to blow you away. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've helped many people optimize their financial assets throughout their entire lifetime to prepare for a comfortable retirement, but also minimize taxes. One of my favorite vehicles where I recommend that most retirees have 40 to 60% of their retirement assets or income come from is what I call the tax-free bucket. Yep. Totally tax-free. That would not include IRAs and 401ks. Those are only tax deferred. So my favorite vehicle I call the laser fund. A laser is an acronym that I've used for years that stands for liquid assets safely earning returns. Now people say, what is a laser fund? Well, a laser fund is a properly structured and properly funded indexed universal life insurance contract that is designed primarily for living benefits so that when you earn a return like I have, let's say of 11%, you're netting 10% cash on cash. It is the best internal rate of return of any financial product I know out there. And I'm even talking about some of the asset management fees that many asset managers charge, which might be 1% a year. And if you do the math, if you started out with $500,000, and that grew to 4 million, 8 million. Many times clients of ours started out with $500,000 and it doubled to $1 million in maybe 7.5 years. And then it doubled to 2 million and then doubled to 4 million and doubled to 8 million after 30 years. Now, if an asset manager did that, that would be an average return of about 9.62%. But during that time period, they would have charged you in fees just under $1 million. So actually, I like Indexed Universal Life because it is the least expensive. The fees on that are usually 1/10 of what an asset manager will charge you at the end of the day. And so sometimes you get critics that say, ooh, I've never seen an Indexed Universal Life policy return much of anything. Well, I'm about to share with you how many people locked in gains of 61.33% in 1 year from March of the year 2020, right after the COVID-19 pandemic started and the market crashed, and 1 year later using what is called the annual point-to-point with no cap strategy. So get ready, and I'm going to share with you how that works and how people were able to achieve those rates of return. And at the end, I'm going to show you how somebody made over $500,000 in 1 year on an $800,000 investment. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to explain the annual point-to-point with no cap strategy, which many clients of ours, because the financial advisors that I point my students to, will go to these advisors, and many of them will diversify maybe up to 40% of their money that is inside an indexed universal life insurance policy to this strategy. And it was really unique in 2020 to 2021 because whenever you have a crash, that's an opportunity. Okay, when there's anxiety, there's opportunity to link using this particular strategy. And I'll show you how people benefited from this strategy with rates of return that most people go, what? I've never seen a universal life policy return 61%. Well, some people got even 2.7 times that number, and I'll explain that in another episode. So if this is already intriguing you, I would recommend you subscribe. Click like, post a comment, subscribe to the 3-Dimensional Wealth channel. Why? Because I have over 500 educational videos, and I post at least 5 new videos every single week. I don't want you to miss out. Click the little bell so you'll be notified, and stay with me to the end because I want to gift you a copy of my most recent 300-page best-selling book called The Laser Fund. Okay? Let me explain a 1-year annual point-to-point with no cap. When you're using indexing, and I have other videos that explain indexing if you're not sure what that is, but you're telling the insurance company to link your returns to an index of your choice. Let's just use the S&P 500, even though there's all kinds of indices you can choose. But the most common is the Standard & Poor's 500. If you use a regular annual point-to-point with a cap, you're telling the insurance company, oh, I feel bullish about America this year. And let's say you have $1 million of cash value in the policy at the beginning of the linking period. And it could be any month of the year. But for example, let's say November the year 2011, I linked with mine because it was an election year, okay? And we had an incumbent, President Obama, running for a second term. And I've seen in history that whenever an incumbent is running for their second term, they do all kinds of fiscal and monetary policy to make the economy look vibrant, dynamic, and growing, so they'll be reelected. So I knew my chances were better than not that the economy would grow more than just the 5% interest that the insurance company will pay me if I just leave it there and don't link it to an index. So I linked mine November, and 1 year later, in November of 2012, right after the election, sure enough, the economy had grown, but they capped me. And so back then, the caps were up around 16%. Even though the economy grew more than that, they capped me. What's the trade-off? Well, if I guess wrong and the economy crashed because of a terrorist attack or something, instead of losing 20, 30, or 40%, I wouldn't have lost a dime of my million. My principal's safe. It's safe in the insurance company. I didn't allow the insurance company to invest my million in the S&P. Only the interest on my million, which at that time was 5% or 50,000, they bought upside options in the S&P. If the market had crashed, the options would have expired worthless, but my million would still be safe. Does that make sense? I relinquished the for sure 5% when I linked. This is a safe way to participate in the market when it goes up, but not lose when the market goes down. Now, the difference between an annual point-to-point with a cap and a no cap is the insurance company, they might charge a threshold or a spread. And so that could be 5%, it could be 10%. That's typically the range. So what that means is there is no cap. In other words, whatever the S&P does, they must pay you the increase in that 1 year point to point. So let's use the example of that crash that happened in the year 2020, March, when the market dropped down more than 30%. A lot of people panicked. It was because of COVID-19. Most of our advisors told their clients, use the 1 year point to point with no cap strategy, link. And so they did. And so their money and their insurance policy, whatever was in there, whatever portion, you don't have to link all of it. They linked from March of the year 2020 to March of 2021. Well, what was the increase a year later? Well, from the bottom of where it crashed until a year later, the increase was 66.33%. 66%. So how come they only got 61.33%? Let me explain. When you use a strategy like this, there's usually a threshold or a spread. So if there is no cap, the insurance company, because of the price of options and how they manage this, will subtract 5%, maybe up to 10% off of whatever the return actually was. From March of 2020 to March of 2021, the market went up 66.33%. The spread or threshold for many of them was 5%. So you take 5 off of the 66.33 and the net credit was 61.33% in one single year for the people who linked when the market went down. So you normally don't have to worry about the volatility because when you use indexing, you make money whether the market is going up or down because it just has to be doing this. But when the market goes down, that spells opportunity. When there's anxiety in the market, that spells opportunity. And so my sons have many hundreds, thousands of clients between the two of them. And they told many of them, link, use the 1 year point to point with no cap strategy. And several of them in March of the year 2021 got their statement for the money that was linked during that 12-month period, and they netted 61.33% increase. Let me share with you the exact numbers for one of those clients and what that meant. They made over $500,000 in 12 months on their indexed universal life policy. And so many naysayers, critics go, I've never seen an IUL policy do that. I'll show you a statement right now. You ready? So this is an actual statement. We've removed the client's name for privacy, of course. But this client, in March of the year 2020, in his indexed universal life insurance policy, his value at that point was $872,786.85, to be exact. Okay. And my son said, link to the annual point-to-point with no cap strategy because of the crash due to COVID-19. 1 year later, from the bottom of March 2020 to March of 2021, that when the market recovered, it was a 66.33% increase. There was a 5% threshold spread. So the net was 61.33. It's right here. Guess what that was? On $872,000, he got credited $535,313.34, over $500,000 in 1 year. His ending balance in March of 2021 had gone from $872,000 up to $1,387,419 in an indexed universal life insurance policy. We had many people experience the same gain, maybe not to that magnitude. Others did, but most of them maybe don't have that much money in their accounts. Maybe they had $300,000 or $400,000. They got the same rate of return. The point is, where else could you achieve that and still protect yourself so that if the market had continued to nosedive, they would have not lost one dime of their $872,000. The zero is your hero because you don't lose. The options expire worthless. But because you linked and you went to the no cap and you said, you can charge me 5%, even if they charged you 10%, you would have netted 10% off of 66, you would have netted 56% return on your money in 1 year. Not bad. Is that worth it? So how could you learn more? So folks, that's just one of the many strategies. That's called an annual point-to-point with no cap. Search this channel for other strategies like the 2-year, the 5-year participation rates. There's all kinds of variables. And if you want to diversify, you diversify into superior strategies. Diversification isn't having some of your money in some bank or credit union earning less than 1% interest. That's not diversification. In fact, you can increase the liquidity and safety by diversifying with superior vehicles like this. If you want to learn more how to do this for yourself, I want to gift you a copy of my most recent best-selling book. Now, this is called The Laser Fund, How to Diversify and Create the Foundation for a Tax-Free Retirement. Okay? And it's 300 pages. It's actually 2 books in one. This side is 200 pages, 14 chapters with all the charts and graphs if you're a left brain thinker. If you're a right brain thinker, you can flip it over. This is 12 chapters, 100 pages with 62 actual client stories of how people use the laser fund, not only for retirement, but for all kinds of financial goals, emergency funds, working capital for your business, real estate management, all kinds of things, college funding. This knocks the socks off of a 529 plan. If you like to use both your right brain and left brain, I would read both books. But you don't have to pay $20 on Amazon. You go to laserfund.com, click on the link below, laserfund.com, contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. I'll cover the rest of that cost. I'll gift you a copy for free. There's also options there if you like to listen and learn or watch and learn. And you can also subscribe and be notified when we teach educational webinars on specific topics that will help you optimize your assets. Here's to your brighter future.